Yo.
What's up, guys? I'm Code Gray. Welcome to the channel. So in my last video, I talked about how a sport bike might be a better option to learn on rather than a cruiser. Well, in the comment section, I had a few comments saying that a dirt bike might be the smartest option to learn on. Well, I can't really argue that point because, well, let's face it, dirt bikes are lightweight, they're very maneuverable, and really technically the safest because, you know, you don't have traffic to deal with, and if you happen to take a spill, you're probably going to end up in the grass or some dirt, and your injuries may not be as severe. So is getting a dirt bike really the smartest option? Well, technically I can't really argue that point. Yes, it would really be the smartest option. But is it really the best option for everyone? Well, let me give you a few reasons why it might not be the best option for everyone to start learning on. Okay, reason number one, maintenance. Yes, technically dirt bikes are usually quite a bit cheaper than your street bike. We're not talking a lot, but still cheaper. But the maintenance on a dirt bike is measured in hours ran, not in mileage. On most of them anyway. Yeah, so since the frequency of the maintenance is measured in hours, that means you're going to be doing a lot more maintenance work on that bike than you would on a standard street bike. Now, this may mean you will have to purchase tools. Tools are not cheap. Also, hopefully, you have a garage to work on it in. I don't. You know, I don't have a garage, so like for me, if I had a dirt bike, any maintenance work I would have to do would be outside of the house, and hopefully get it all done before before bad weather rolls in, before it rains or whatever. Now, let's say for instance you don't like working on bikes. That would mean you're going to have to get someone else to do your maintenance work for you, and that's really going to get costly. So that cheaper dirt bike you may purchase at the beginning thinking you're saving money could cost you a whole lot more money in the long run. Now, if you happen to have a garage and you like working on bikes, no problem, there you go. Reason number two, your height. Now, this technically isn't really an excuse, but the height of a dirt bike can have an intimidation factor for some people. For short people, looking at a dirt bike with that very high seat height can be a bit intimidating, and they may be reluctant to learn on something like that just because they can't get both feet down properly. And actually, if they're short enough, they won't get either foot down properly. Technically, like I said, this is not an excuse because there are some very short people who are very good on dirt bikes and have no problems taking off on them, any of that stuff. I mean, in fact, there is I don't remember the lady's name right now. If I can find it, I'll post her name and picture up here. But she actually teaches classes, off-road classes, adventure biking, and she's very short. She teaches you how to get on and off the bike. If you are height impaired. All right, lastly, and probably most importantly, is location. Do you even live in an area where you can ride a dirt bike? If not, that's going to bring back in problem number one, which is cost. Because if you don't live in an area that you can ride a dirt bike, I'm talking dirt bike, not a dual sport, not a street legal dirt bike, with road bias tires. I'm talking about an actual dirt bike, not allowed on the road. If you do not live in an area where you can ride a dirt bike, you are going to have to take that bike somewhere where you can ride it, which means you're going to have to trailer that bike. And which probably means you're going to have to purchase a trailer. And trailers aren't cheap. And that leads into problem number two. Do you have a vehicle that can haul a trailer? Now, I think you can probably install a hitch on most vehicles. Probably not all of them. But I think they make specialty hitches that you can install on most vehicles. But that's still added cost. So you're looking at purchasing a trailer hitch. You're looking at purchasing a trailer. You're looking at purchasing bike straps. So that's a lot of extra work involved just to haul your bike somewhere for a couple hours. It may be totally worth it. Don't get me wrong. It could be 100% worth it. But that's something to think about. But also the problem with that would be being pessimistic about riding. If you are wanting to learn, you are wanting to get out on that bike as much as possible, and knowing that you gotta put your bike on a trailer and strap it down and take it someplace that hopefully you can find somewhere close to your area that you can ride that bike for a few hours, that could discourage someone out of just not riding it all that day. That means you're just not learning anything. Now, if you happen to be thinking, well, you know what? I don't live right in the middle of the city. I'm kind of out in the suburbs and a little bit of the country area. I'll just ride my dirt bike wherever I want to. Let me tell you now, you will get shot for trespassing. Here in the U.S., people take trespassing way too seriously. Nah, I shouldn't say way too seriously. Very seriously, sometimes way too seriously. I personally have had a shotgun put in my face because me and a friend was riding a four-wheeler on what we thought was public land. It wasn't public land. It was someone's private property. But it was so remote, we couldn't see the house because of all the trees, and it was kind of tucked behind the mountain a little bit. Yeah, we turned around, the shotgun stuck right in our face. Told to leave promptly, which of course we did. So yes, don't just hop on the dirt bike and think you can go wherever. Now, I know there's some of you guys out there that are listening that are actually from the deep country, if you want to put it that way, and you're thinking, you know, KG, none of this really applies to me. I can get on a dirt bike because, you know, there's not many neighbors around. I live in the mountains, and I could go riding on the mountains as much as I want to. Neighbors aren't really going to see me, so it's really not that big of a deal. Well, I say, you guys ain't getting out of this one either. And I'll tell you why with this little story. I went down to visit my dad, who lives in Kentucky. We were going to do some four-wheeling while we were down there. Now, not only my dad, but quite a few other people that live down there in the Appalachian Mountains. And by the way, it's Appalachian Mountains. It's not Appalachian. That's the correct pronunciation, Appalachian. Trust the people who live there to say it correctly. Sorry, that annoys me. Anyway, back to the story. I was warned that when I go four-wheeling down there, I could only go on 2 separate mountains. I couldn't go on any mountain that I wanted to. And I could only go halfway up the mountain. I wasn't allowed to go all the way toward the mountaintops. Of course, I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. Why? Well, I said, you know, is it people's private property, you know, halfway up the mountains? And they're like, yeah, it's people's private property halfway up the mountains. You don't want to be riding on other people's property. But there's 2 mountains down here that you can ride on that everybody's okay with. I'm like, okay. I said, why only halfway up? Apparently, the top half of all the mountains down there is part of the Daniel Boone National Forest. So it's a big park owned by the government. I said, okay, so it's a big forest. Do they not allow you to ride in the forest up there because it's a park owned by the government? They're like, technically no. You can ride up there as much as you want to. It's not illegal. So I'm still lost. I say, well, why can't I ride up there? Well, apparently, as it turns out, people like to go up into the national forest, government land, and plant special things up there, and brew special things up there, and create special things up there, and have big fields of special plants up there. So I was warned that if I decide to go up there, I could very easily be shot, because there are people up there guarding their possessions. I could run into booby traps, which is a very real thing down there. Guard dogs. Lots of bad things could happen. So of course I asked, everybody, why would they be crazy enough to do all this stuff on government land? Well, to put it simply, because then it's not on their land. If helicopters fly over and spot it, it's not on anyone's personal property, so no one could get in trouble for it. But if you think they're not up there keeping an eye on that stuff at all times, you would be crazy. So, if you happen to live in the mountain area, keep that in mind. It could actually be worse for you trespassing on that type of area rather than your suburbs here. Now, if none of these things are a limiting factor for you, then I still say, yes, you should definitely get a dirt bike to learn on. If you have the area and you have the mechanical skills, you have the tools, or even if you don't have any of those things, but you're really interested in learning how to work on motorcycles, if you're interested in, just starting off in a safer environment, then yeah, dirt bikes would be the best option. But just remember to factor in all those things I've talked about. And I'm sure there's other things that I'm not thinking of because I didn't learn on a dirt bike. I learned on the road. So I'm sure there are a lot of more pros or cons that are involved that guys with experience could tell you about better than I could. But I just wanted to give you guys a little bit more food for thought. Alright guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. That'll help me out quite a bit. Alright guys, I'm Code Gray. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Yay, a train. How wonderful is that? Let's turn her off. I think I might pull a road reality and get off the bike and take a look, huh? Get a stretch. There she is. CBR 1000 RR. Very dirty, because I haven't washed her in a week and a half, 2 weeks. There you go, John. Not as flamboyant as yours, but there you go.